My name is Leo. I still remember the day she left me. My mother, the person I thought would never leave my side. I was 10 years old, small and quiet, sitting on the steps of our old house, watching her pack her suitcase. Her hands trembled as she folded clothes I had helped her choose, and the scent of her perfume lingered in the air, a scent I would come to hate for years to come. "Leo, I have to go," she said, her voice shaking but firm. There was someone else. Someone, she said, made her heart feel alive again. I didn't understand. How could love exist outside of the bond we had? How could someone else be more important than me? I tried to follow her, to grab her hand, but she gently pushed me away. "You'll be okay. Your father will take care of you," she whispered. But my father had been gone for years. My mother's absence felt like a hurricane, tearing my world apart. That night, I cried until my throat ached, my small body shaking with sobs. I didn't know it then, but life had changed forever. School became a blur after that. I would sit in class, staring at the empty chair where she used to pick me up, counting the minutes until the sun set and I could return home, hoping maybe she had changed her mind. But the house was silent. Her laughter, her comforting voice, the warmth of her hug, it was all gone. I became invisible. Friends tried to comfort me, but how could they understand the emptiness of being abandoned by your mother? The nights were the worst. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, I would imagine her smiling at another child, telling them the same lies she once told me. The betrayal burned inside me like fire. As years passed, I learned to live with the absence. But it never left me. Every birthday without her, every holiday, every simple "how was your day?" became a cruel reminder that she chose someone else over me. I questioned myself constantly. Was it something I did? Something I lacked? Or was it just that her love had limits I never imagined existed? Then came the letters. A few years later, I received a yellowed envelope in the mail. My mother's handwriting. My hands shook as I tore it open. She wrote about how she missed me, how she thought of me every day, but she was happy now, in a life I could not be part of. She sent pictures of her new family, smiling in ways that made my chest tighten. I wanted to scream, to tear up the letters, but I couldn't. They were proof that she had moved on while I was still trapped in the memories of her love. I grew older, carrying the scar of her abandonment like a shadow that never left. I became careful with people, never fully trusting anyone. Love felt like a fragile thread, easily broken, because if the person who was supposed to protect me could leave, who else could I count on? But even in my sadness, I clung to a fragile hope. Maybe one day she would come back. Maybe one day I would hear her voice and it would all be okay. But deep down, I knew it was a dream. And dreams have a way of breaking you even more than reality does. As I grew older, the emptiness left by my mother's departure never faded. It only deepened. Teenagers laugh, cry, fall in love, argue, and feel the complicated twists of family life. But I felt like I had been cast out of that world. I watched my classmates talk about their parents, sharing jokes or asking for advice, and a hollow ache spread through me every time. I had no one to share my life with, only silence and memories that felt like sharp knives in my chest. High school was a battlefield. I built walls around myself, keeping everyone at arm's length. I couldn't risk trusting anyone, because what if they left too? I became quiet, reserved, almost invisible. Teachers called me serious or mysterious, but they didn't see the storm raging inside me. Some days, I wanted to scream at the sky, to demand answers from the universe. Why did she leave? Why me? Was I not enough? Friendships were fleeting. I watched others hold hands with their parents after school, receive hugs and words of encouragement, and I felt like an outsider, staring through a window into a world I didn't belong to. Sometimes I'd try to reach out, but my anger always got in the way. I resented my mother, but I also craved her love. That conflict consumed me. One winter evening, when I was 14, I wandered through the empty streets after school, snow crunching beneath my shoes. My breath fogged the cold air. I found myself at the park where she used to push me on the swings. I sat there alone, hugging my knees, and whispered her name like a prayer. Tears froze on my cheeks, and I realized something painful. I had been waiting for her for years, hoping she would return, but deep down, I knew she wouldn't. Love, I decided, was dangerous. It could abandon you, betray you, leave you hollow and aching. And yet, there were moments when I couldn't fight the longing. I would see a mother holding her child, or hear someone talk about their mom, and a dull ache would pierce me like a knife. I hated it, but I couldn't stop it. School continued, each year blending into the next. I focused on grades, sports, anything to keep my mind busy, anything to escape the ghost of my mother. Basketball became my refuge. On the court, I was free. No past, no abandonment, just the sound of the ball hitting the floor, the roar of the crowd, and the rhythm of movement. It gave me a taste of control in a life that had always felt uncontrollable. At 16, I met her, Sophia. She had a laugh that filled a room, eyes that seemed to see through the walls I'd built, and a kindness I didn't know how to accept. I tried to push her away at first, afraid that if I let anyone in, they would leave too. But Sophia was persistent, patient. Slowly, I began to trust her. She became my light, the first person in years who made me feel seen. But even with her, there were shadows. When she asked about my mother, my chest tightened, and I would lie, saying everything was fine. I didn't want anyone to see the raw wound that still festered inside me. Even as I laughed, joked, and shared moment with her, a part of me remained frozen in that night when she left. Then came the betrayal that changed everything. I discovered a message from my mother on social media, her smiling face next to another boy's child. Another life she had chosen over me. I couldn't breathe. The walls I thought I had built crumbled, and rage, sorrow, and longing all collided inside me. I didn't cry, I couldn't. I threw my phone across the room, shattering the screen, as if breaking it could break the reality I despised. I withdrew from Sophia for months. I couldn't let anyone see the pieces of me she might break. But in solitude, something strange happened. I started to grow stronger. I realized that no one, not even my mother, had the power to define my worth. I was more than abandonment, more than sadness, more than the betrayal that had haunted my childhood. I was Leo, and I could survive this. By the time I graduated high school, I had learned two things. First, the past can scar you, but it doesn't have to control you. Second, love is terrifying, but it's also worth the risk, though I would choose carefully. I left my hometown behind, determined to carve a life that belonged only to me, a life where abandonment wouldn't define my story. But even as I stepped into adulthood, I knew the shadow of my mother's choice would follow me. It was part of who I was. And perhaps I realized that shadow would always be there, quiet, lingering, but it no longer ruled me. I was learning to walk in the light, even if that light was faint, fragile, and hard-won. Adulthood hit me like a storm I wasn't prepared for. Leaving my hometown behind, I thought I could outrun the shadows of my past, but they had a way of finding me no matter where I went. College life was a new beginning, or at least that's what I told myself. I studied late into the night, pushing myself to excel in ways I thought might make my mother proud, though I knew she would never see it. I kept to myself mostly, speaking only when necessary, observing more than participating. Yet, I couldn't hide from loneliness. Even in a dorm full of students, laughter, and energy, I felt an invisible barrier between myself and the rest of the world. The ache of a mother's absence had taught me how to survive, but it hadn't taught me how to belong. Then came work. I chose a job that demanded precision, logic, and focus, a place where emotions were secondary and outcomes were clear. Numbers never judged, never left, never abandoned. Slowly, I started building a life that felt like my own. I paid my rent, earned my salary, and for a time I felt normal. But life has a way of testing even the strongest resolve. One rainy evening, I met her, Isabella. She wasn't like Sophia from my teenage years. She was calm, patient, and had an uncanny ability to read emotions without asking. There was something soothing about her presence, a warmth I had forgotten existed. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to imagine a life with someone who might stay. Yet, the past is never far behind. Isabella had her own demons, and when we shared our stories, I spoke of my mother's abandonment for the first time in decades. The words were heavy, like stones falling from my chest, and for the first time, someone truly listened. Not with pity, but with understanding. And in that moment, I realized that love could heal even the deepest wounds, if it was patient enough. Life wasn't easy, though. There were days when her kindness reminded me of what I had lost, and nights when memories of my mother returned with a vengeance. I'd wake up suddenly, drenched in sweat, imagining the sound of the suitcase, the whisper of her leaving, the emptiness that had defined my childhood. I fought the urge to push Isabella away, knowing that in my fear, I might lose the one person who could anchor me to the world. Work, too, was a battlefield. I excelled, but every promotion, every recognition was bittersweet. Success was hollow when the people you wanted to share it with were absent. I built walls around my achievements, celebrating quietly in solitude. And yet, slowly, I began to take pride, not for anyone else, but for myself. I realized that I could define my own worth. Years passed. I grew stronger, more self-assured. But I never forgot the boy who cried alone on the steps of that old house. He was still inside me, quiet, watching, reminding me of resilience born from pain. Then one day, unexpectedly, I saw her, my mother. She was older now, her face lined with time, her eyes carrying the weight of years and choices. She reached out, calling my name with a trembling voice. For a moment, I felt the old longing rise like a tidal wave, the boy who had been abandoned aching to be comforted. But I was no longer 10 years old. I was Leo, a man forged by pain, tempered by endurance, and guided by self-respect. I looked at her and felt a flood of emotions, anger, sorrow, pity, and a strange, distant longing, but I realized I didn't need her approval to define my life. "I'm here now," she said, tears streaking her cheeks. "I see that," I replied quietly. Not with warmth, not with forgiveness, not yet. Just recognition. Recognition that the past had shaped me, but it would not control me. And with that, I turned and walked away, not in bitterness, but in strength. My life was mine, built from the ruins she had left behind. Pain had been my teacher, loss my companion, and in the shadows of abandonment, I had found the light of resilience, independence, and self-worth. Leo had survived. And perhaps in that survival, he had found something better than love from someone who left. He had found love for himself and the courage to embrace the future, no matter what it held. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed Leo's story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support means the world and helps me bring more emotional and inspiring stories to you. See you in the next video.